I'm very, very grateful to be connected with you today and welcome on the first live coaching webinar. Today it's going to be about the introduction to the live coaching, but it's just the beginning. We are planning to have a series of the webinars which will be dedicated particularly live coaching. So my big request after we finish today, please share with us your feedback and let us know if there is anything particular about life coaching which you got inspired with and you would like to know a little bit better and more about it. So I'm more than happy to share in the future more content about the topics which you are really interested in and inspired. I'm very, very excited to have this initiative today, and I would really, really encourage you to invest a little bit of time into your education, especially nowadays when the new reality brings us a little bit of spare time. So it's always good to dedicate some time to learn something interesting, and I hope the knowledge we are going to share with you today is gonna to be beneficial. And please stay active, please stay open, don't stop, and learning and development, especially self-development, is always the best investment. So this time which you are investing into your education will definitely pay back in the most beneficial way, and that's always this continuous growing journey is the key for each and every success. So that's great that we can meet today, and today it's gonna to be the introduction to life coaching. So I'm planning to explain to you what is the life coaching about, who is it dedicated to, how it can help you personally, what are the benefits, how does it really work in reality, I would say, and how is it different from different techniques of personal development. But before we start the presentation, just a few words about myself, especially for those who don't know me very well yet. My name is Agnieszka Piątkowska. I'm life coach, International Coaching Federation member, and psychobiology counselor. I've got my 10 years experience as a business professional as well, and 14 years of my personal development experience. So this is how I learned to be accountable in life, and everything what I'm sharing with you and with my clients is something which I really experienced by myself through different trainings, workshops, my own life coaching process, and psychotherapy too. So summing up 4 years of practicing life coaching, which gave me the opportunity to conduct over 500 hours of individual coaching processes and group sessions, and the opportunity to work with 17 nationalities. So looking forward to more. And I work basically with the empowerment coaching. So this is something that I will be today focusing on as well. Why? Because that's help you to really understand the root cause of your problem and the emotional limitations which you've got within yourself, which leads you to release the blocks. The full life coaching process lasts for between 6 up to 8 months, with the average of 2 up to 3 sessions per month. So this is how it works. It's quite long process, but I do believe that the proper changes needs proper time for the implementation. So if you've got a little bit more questions about the, the coaching process, then in the end of our session, you can type them in the questions and answers, or you can just simply raise your hand, and I'm more than happy to answer all of them. So let's start and let's have a look then what is life coaching about itself. Simply and shortly speaking, that's the self-discovery process, where the individual can implement the solutions which are the most adequate for the person. So what does it mean? It means that people come up with their solutions, people come up with their own insights by themselves. And that's the most precious about life coaching. So the client is being guided by the coach and inspired by the coach who is asking the powerful questions. It's simply the conversation between the coach and the coachee, the person who is being coached. And what does it bring? It helps to understand the thinking process, the emotions, the actions, the decisions which we are taking in our life. We need to know why we are doing something, simply and shortly speaking. It clarifies the real meaning of the situations, events, and interactions which are happening in our life, because we usually put some interpretations and opinions and judgments. So we can have a look here at a different perspective and really understand the real meaning of what's happening in our life. It helps to embrace you, to take the full responsibility for your life. So anything and everything what is happening in your life, you have to feel responsible for. And that's a little bit tricky part, because that gives amazing empowerment and brings you the control back in your life. But it's not easy sometimes to take responsibility for certain situations and events in life which we are not happy with the outcome. So that's a little bit of hard work which needs to be done here, but it brings a magic in the end of the day. So what else? It empowers you to discover what you really want in your life. I call it life purpose, which means I'm back on the track and I feel that I'm in the right place and in the right moment. So I truly believe we need to understand first who we are before we identify what do we want and why do we want it in our life. How is it different from different techniques of personal development? Because we've got counseling, we've got therapy, psychotherapy, different trainings, different workshops. So here the whole work, the hard work is being done actually by you. I always say that I'm sitting next to you in the car, which you are driving, and I'm only helping you to find out where are you going. So yes, that's true. We need sometimes someone who can show us a different perspective of certain situations, because once we are, I would say, flooded with our emotions, it's very difficult to get a different perspective. But this is what we are going to talk about later. And I would say it's the most dynamic technique of the personal development, because it works on the behaviors. So in the end of the day, we are looking for you changing your actions and your behaviors and bringing different outcome and different results to your life, obviously the most desired. So moving forward, I would like to explain that coaching actually is usually associated with business. So many organizations, they are using coaching as the method, as the platform for assisting leaders and team members to identify what is the next step in their career, what they want to achieve, and how the performance can be increased, obviously to make them be happier in their workplace. But I would like to explain that actually coaching doesn't imply only on the business goals. So what can be resolved via coaching? What kind of problems we can work on? I'm meeting lots of people who are losing the passion for life. People who are missing the goal in their life. It doesn't have to be the business goal, it can be the private life goal, right? People who are scared of the commitments, people who are scared about decisions, people who don't know what is right, what is wrong, which way to choose, where to go, and simply don't understand that there is something wrong, but they cannot identify what is this. So there is lots of, I would say, personal challenges which can be resolved via coaching. And I gave you here a few examples, which I think that most of us are facing from time to time in our life. And let's explain a little bit how the life coaching can help us with these problems or these challenges which we are facing in our life. I'll start with something very simple, but in the end of the day, I would say it's a little bit complicated. So each and every action in our life has the cause and the effect. So basically each and every decision, each and every action or reaction brings us a certain result in life. That's simple and that's obvious. It's just we don't really identify that between this cause and effect, there is in the middle the process which might be very, very difficult to be identified. That's our emotional state, which I call state here, and that's our behavior. And here is the area, I would say, which we can have a look and understand what happened before, what happened in the meantime, and why this kind of outcome I got in my life. So this is where basically we'll be focusing on in coaching. Everything what we did in life or we didn't do in life will bring a certain result in our life. This is what I call the behavior, and the behavior comes from our emotional state. So I always ask the questions, do you know what you do? Do you know why you didn't do what you decided not to do? Do you know why you took this certain decision? And do you know how to do certain things which you decided to do? And are you okay with the impact of your actions and decisions which you are receiving in your life? And in the end of the day, obviously, are you capable and ready to take the responsibility of the results of the outcomes in your life? So this is the beginning of the powerful questions which we can start asking to ourselves to understand what we are going to work on. A little bit deeper, I would like to present to you how all this process, internal process of cause and effect is going through our psychology. So obviously there is an experience in life, information, we got to know something, we noticed something, someone told us something, which is being transferred to our internal world, and I call it meaning making. So each and every information has a meaning, and this meaning is being given to this information by ourselves. And here is the responsibility. So we've got a kind of conditioning based on which we are giving a certain opinions, interpretations to the certain situations. And we will talk a little bit more about what we are doing with those information, because we might delete them, distort, or just simply identify them as the general ones. What's going to happen when we've got our opinion on the information which we already received? Whatever opinion we gave to the information, to the situation, to the person, will create a certain feeling. So here I call it, it's a feeling making process, which obviously is the effect of a meaning making process. So the opinion, the thought which got created in our mind will bring a certain feeling. That's why we usually talk about positive and negative thinking. Why? Because positive thinking, good interpretation, supportive interpretation will bring us different kind of emotions, and the emotions are associated with our body. So usually we feel that there is something wrong when we don't feel comfortably in terms of our emotions. And here is the moment when we understand that the situation is actually simply not comfy for us. Based on what we are feeling, we will behave. So that's quite important, that our actions are being driven by our feelings, feelings by thoughts, and the meaning making process is the most important. So based on the action we are going to take, the decision or reaction, we will get a certain result in our life. And again, based on this result, we will create a new experience. So this is a little bit of information and insights about how is the process of the information and outcome in our internal world. And let's have a look a little bit deeper. How does it work? So our internal world, I call that's our reality, because there is the meaning making process based on the information which we've got in our brain, which is our database. So the reality is simply our database. The information is coming from the external world. That's very important. And the information is totally meaningless. We are giving the meaning to the information, and it's happening in our internal world. Then based on that, what kind of opinion and interpretation we created on the certain information. This is how we are going to feel. And obviously, based on the feeling, we will take a certain actions and we will get the feedback in our life, which can be the result or just the behavior. So these are the steps which are actually confirming the graph which I showed you before. And let's move forward and dig a little bit more in each and every step. So step one, the experience, which is totally meaningless, which is just a raw information. That's the most important for you to understand, that it comes to our internal world from our external world through the sensory filters. It's obvious, we can see the email, we can hear the conversation, right? And this is how we absorb the information from the external world. Step two, meaning making, I call it thinking. It's just simply thinking. So here what's important for you, that here where we are giving the opinion to the situations, to people, to the events which are happening in our life, we've got filters. That's why we are calling it, that's the meaning making process, because those filters, this process which is so quick and very difficult to be identified, these decisions, these opinions are being taken based on the filters. And this is where coaching comes to the picture. We need to understand why we are taking certain decisions. We need to understand what kind of filters do I have. And we will talk about them a little bit later. So when the information comes to the internal world and the meaning making process starts, what's happening with the information? Actually, this is my the most attractive for me part of the game, and I'm very fascinated by those information. So can you imagine there is 400 billion information which is being delivered from the external world per second, and we are only able to absorb 2000 bytes per second. So obviously the huge chunk of the information has to be deleted, like it never existed before. So we just simply delete most of the information. We absorb only those which are meaningful for us, and they are related to certain things which are important for us. When we absorb those 2000 bytes per second and we decide that those are meaningful and we want to keep them and we are aware about them, then what's going to happen with them? We need to put them into kind of folders. I call it wardrobes or even drawers, and put the labels. So basically we create this kind of categorization, and then later, based on those categorizations, we will be sorting all the other information which we are getting in the future. And that's our PC, that's our database. This is how we are going to operate based on what we learned and what we absorbed. And the third one is just to simplify our life and our thinking a little bit. Things are happening never or always. So when there is the experience which is being repeatable, obviously we know that things happen never or always because it happened a few times and brought the same result. So we just simply put them as the general rule. And we've got those general rules and we operate based on them as well. So the most important is to understand that people, they've got different data and they operate from different perspective. That's why people are different, and that's why different people take different decisions in the same circumstances. And another thing, that we don't know everything, because there is a big chunk of the information which we don't absorb, we just delete, right? So I always say, I don't know what I don't know. And this is what's happening without our conscious, I would say, presence. It's just happening automatically. And it's really good to realize that this process is really happening within seconds. Moving forward to step number 3, we've got the feeling making state. And the feelings, obviously, are very easy to be identified because they are located in the body. So if I feel I'm stressed, I know that. If I feel that I'm scared, I know that. If I feel I'm angry, I know that. So this is the moment usually when we understand where are we at the moment. And one of the ways how to change our emotional state is changing our meaning-making process, which means changing our thinking. And then we have to reverse and understand, what did I think about what that I feel now like I feel. Moving forward, step number 4. Obviously, the feedback is the result. So we are coming back to the first slide where we had the cause and effect. So the cause is our thinking and our emotional state, and the effect is our behavior and the result which we are getting in our life. So I would like now to have a look at those filters based on which the meaning-making process is happening, because here is the space where we can change something, when we can understand something. Here we are digging in the life coaching process. So there are certain filters which are conscious and certain filters which are unconscious. Obviously, those which are conscious we can monitor by ourselves, but our belief system and our values is something which we might not be conscious about. And here are the programs which are ruling our life in the unconscious way. That's very important to understand that. And here is the space for a change. So what is the belief system and why is it so important in the meaning-making process? So these are the filters based on which we are creating our opinions, our judgments, our imagination about the world and the situations, where they are coming from. We learn them. Since we are born, we learn certain things about different aspects of life. They can be shared when we are talking about the culture, tradition, religion. They can be absorbed by us from the social media, from our family, from authorities. That's the combination of things which are learned and practically understood by us, which we call the personal experience. And based on them, we can create our future beliefs, what's gonna happen and how is it gonna to look like, because this is what we can identify based on our knowledge. And the most important, those beliefs really rule our life. And based on those beliefs, we are taking certain decisions in life. And here we need to understand what they are about in order to change what we are doing and what we are thinking and get something different in life, what is more desired. The values, another filter, which is very important in the meaning-making process. Again, the values are the core of our personality. So they are the filters, they are very strongly, I would say, implemented, and they are kind of the driver for us. So if there is anything which is not aligned with our values, our motivation will be very, very low. And here you can have a look in a different way, where we've got the values and beliefs, which are the filters for our thoughts, and our thoughts are being followed by our feelings, and our feelings are the fuel for our decision, our actions, and then we are getting the results. So summing up, where are the beliefs coming from? They are learned or absorbed. They come from the childhood, our parents, our family, culture, tradition, religion, society, community, school, authorities, friends, and all what happened in our life and had a certain impact. It's just our personal experience. They are about everything what happened in our life. They can be about ourselves. We've got the beliefs about ourselves as well, because people told us something, and the more important was the person for us, the stronger would be the belief. They can be about life, about God, money, past, future, universe, world. The whole reality is built based on the beliefs. What do we really need to understand? Those beliefs can be limiting or empowering. And here is where there is a space for a change. We need to understand, what do we believe about certain things in order to identify if this belief is really supporting us or it's limiting us. So here the game starts. And obviously we focus in life coaching on limiting beliefs, because those which are empowering us and supporting us, we want to keep, we don't want to get rid of them. But the limiting beliefs, this is the space, this is the reason that sometimes we put so much effort into our goal, and we prepare ourselves and we get to know all the skills and we are perfectly ready, and still we cannot achieve our goal. So here we need to understand, what do I really believe about what the goal is related to, that this limitation doesn't let me go through despite how much effort I put into my project or into my goal. I just prepared a few examples about the primary types of limiting beliefs, which I really meet quite often. So when I ask people, why don't you try? The answer is, if I try, I will fail. Or why don't you go and try to be in the relationship? The answer is, no one will want me. I'm not good enough, or I'm lacking something. I'm not perfect. And another one which is quite strong, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve it. It's quite often popular in the business world when we are talking about new job, promotion, or new opportunities. So how do we challenge them? We challenge them by asking powerful questions to understand where they are coming from. So how do you know that you will fail if you try? Who told you that you are not worthy? Where or when did you learn that you are not good enough? And compared to whom or what, or based on what? So those questions are like the eye openers. They open the gate, and we just follow this path to understand where this belief comes from and how we can change it. There is lots of self-limiting beliefs which I prepared for you, the examples, but the most important for us is that we really don't have to be the slaves of our limitations, and we can claim our life back and transform ourselves into the better version, more supportive version, because the top management, the brain, the meaning-making process can be still monitored by us. So the empowerment and taking full responsibility for everything what we are creating in our life gives us this opportunity. So how we can overcome those limiting beliefs? There are a few steps. Of course, this is a very short version, but first of all, we need to isolate, we need to understand, identify this limiting belief. How does it sound? And what is it related to? Then we need to understand the benefit, which means, is it supporting me? Is it really supporting me? Or maybe that's something which is limiting me. Once we know that, we can undermine the belief by asking powerful questions and challenging the belief. And in the end of the day, if we are convinced that this belief is not something which we want to keep because it doesn't serve us, then we build a new belief and try to convince ourselves that things can be different and we can still believe in something different. So that's a very short version of the process, but giving the general overview. And here I prepared for you a very, very short conversation to understand what is life coaching about and how this conversation can look like. Obviously, it takes a little bit longer, but this is what we are doing. We are trying to identify the problem. We are trying to identify what could be the potential solution and what is stopping us from achieving this solution or goal. Then we are trying to find out the limiting belief, what is really stopping me, what I'm thinking about it, what is not motivating me for that. And slowly go through the whole emotional and thinking process in order to build the new belief, and giving ourselves a try to see, why not? I'm ready. Maybe it can happen to me in a different way if it happened to other people. Maybe things might work. So from identifying the problem and the potential solution through all the limitations which I might face and how to challenge them, I'm creating the new reality. I'm creating the new opportunity. I'm opening the new door, giving the chance to myself that maybe things can be different. And that's enough. So this self-awareness, this different perspectives really open the door for different solution and to operate in life from, I would say, different perspective. So this is more or less about life coaching and how the process looks like. I prepared for you something special today, and this is my contribution to the current situation when people really need help and support, facing lots of problems. So there is a bonus of 30 minutes free consultation. Whenever you feel that there is something I can help you with, and you would like to get a little bit more of awareness about yourself, just let me know, and I'm happy to have a chat and see if we can create something new for you. So that's my contact details, and feel free to ask any questions anytime. And let me know if you've got any questions for the time being, because I think we've got still a few minutes.